Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Today we will be looking at the last weapon in our basic tactics series. We will be looking at the Lascannon, the king of heavy weapons. Now for those of you that are joining us here for the first time, the basic tactics series is a series I've done for both 7th edition and I'm doing it for 8th edition as well, where I take a look at the heavy and special weapons available to the Imperial Guard and basically look at what they can do, where you should be using them in your army, and how well they pair up with other weapons. And that's it really. It's a series that's primarily aimed at people who are new to Imperial Guard, not necessarily new to Warhammer, but maybe you are a new player who's got Imperial Guard and there's quite a lot of weapon options available to the Guard. And you just don't know what's a good choice and what's a bad choice. And maybe you're an experienced Warhammer player who is coming to the Imperial Guard and you sort of want to see if you come from Space Marines, do the same sort of rules apply to the Imperial Guard when it comes to weapon choices. So that's what it is. It's basically, the series is designed to give people an idea of what to expect from each weapon in the hands of a guardsman, and that's why it's primarily aimed at the Imperial Guard infantry side of things. Now, the Lascannon is the last weapon that we're looking at, and it's also the last of the elite weapon systems. What I mean by that is it is one of the most expensive, but it is also one of the most powerful. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, the Lascannon is 20 points, and for that 20 points, you get a single Strength 9 AP -3 damage D6 shot. Now, that obviously is designed as an anti-tank weapon. It only gets the one shot, so you're only going to hit 50% of the time. Now, you can mitigate that by getting re-rolls, either re-roll ones to hit, or if you're Cajun, all re-rolls if you stand still and receive take aim. So you can mitigate that. So in the past, people wouldn't like Lascannons because they'd say, well, you only hit half the time and they're just too expensive for one shot. Well, now we have access to a lot of re-rolls, so it's nowhere near as bad. The Lascannon is a very good gun and is part of it's one of the cornerstone weapons of my go big or go home philosophy. What my go big or go home philosophy is essentially, as Imperial Guard, we only hit half the time, so there's no point in wasting those shots on taking crappy weapons. It's all well and good spamming autocannons, but if you only hit half the time and then those shots that do hit don't do anything, then you wasted your time. Whereas if you only hit half the time, the go big or go home philosophy says if you're going to hit them, you better make sure you hurt them. And that's why I like Lascannons, that's why I like plasma guns. And the Lascannon, it really is part of that go big or go home philosophy. You only get the one shot, but if you do hit, more than likely you are going to really hurt what you shoot. Now, last time we looked at the missile launcher, which also did D6 damage, but the missile launcher, and it costs the same amount. The missile launcher is only strength 8, and it's only AP -2, and that's a real problem. The Lascannon is strength 9, which means on 99.9% of vehicles out there that you shoot this thing at, you're going to be wounding on 3s, and that makes a big difference, especially if you're shooting something like a Land Raider or other Leman Russes or a Demon Primarch, for example, or an Imperial Knight. Sometimes you just need to make sure you're not wounding on 4s, and I have taken missile launchers a lot. I like my missile launchers, I just like the look of them and I think they're cool and they're fluffy, they're a bit more of a realistic weapon. Lascannons are meant to be kind of rare, not super rare like plasma guns, but kind of rare. So that's why I tend to take missile launchers just for fluff purposes. But if I'm going to a tournament, it's Lascannons for days. I don't even look at other weapons. That's how much I believe in this weapon system. The AP -3 is really important as well. I can't tell you the amount of times when My opponent has got to make a 5-up save, and he just makes it every time, and it's like he's got a 2-up save. It's just something about a 5-up save that my opponents, no matter who they are, they seem to be able to make 5-up saves as if they were 4-up or even 3-up saves. But 6-up saves, people never make 6-up saves. I don't know why, they just very, very rarely do. And so what's really good about the Lascannon is because, you know, let's say you can use orders to get the rerolls to hit, or, you know, at least reroll ones. And then because your strength's 9, you're more than likely going to wound, which means you can save your command reroll. Let's say you really have to kill an enemy vehicle. Let's say you just really have to do it. And you've managed to hit, but if it was a missile launcher, let's say you needed a 4, and then you fail to wound, you have to use your command reroll to reroll it, then you don't have your command reroll available for the damage. And as we've talked about before, the most strategic way to use the command reroll is on the damage roll, because there's nothing your opponent can do to stop it then. And that's what the Lascannon is really, really good at doing. It's good at just wounding, cutting through the armour, and then you just get to roll that. You get a d6, and maybe you get a 1, you get your command reroll, and maybe you get a better result. And that's why I like the Lascannon, because other weapons like the missile launcher or the autocannon, you might be tempted to use that command reroll to reroll to wound, but then your opponent makes the armor save, and you essentially just wasted a command point. You see, that's the key to the command reroll. You have to, if you use it to reroll to hit, you might fail to wound. If you use it to reroll to wound, your opponent might make their armor save. If you use to reroll the damage, there's nothing your opponent can do at that point. You've already hit, you've already wounded, you've already got past the armor save. Bar them having something like Disgusting Resilient, you're already on the home run. And that's why the Lascannon works really, really well, because it removes that temptation. Removes the temptation most of the time, because you're going to be hitting with some rerolls thanks to orders. You're going to be wounding on 3, so you're more likely going to do it. That's why it's such a good weapon. Now, obviously, this thing is no good at targeting hordes. You might turn up to a tournament game and you end up facing against an orc horde. In that case, I wouldn't worry. I know it sounds crazy, but the Imperial Guard really doesn't struggle with horde control. Partly because we have our own, hundreds of guys that we can field, and partly because we have access to las guns plus first rank fire, second rank fire, and that is all the anti-horde we need. Because remember, most hordes don't have a very good armor save. We're looking at Nid Bug Swarm, or if someone takes a big old Chaos Cultist army, it's not likely, but they'll at least take 40 in the Cultist bomb, won't they? Or someone's taking an Orc Horde. The key to hordes is they don't have a very good armor save, which means las guns are perfectly fine at killing them, and that's why it's okay to spam Lascannons. That's why I consider the Lascannon to be a take-all-comer weapon. Because, let's say you do face off against, like an Orc Horde list. Having a Lascannon versus having an Autocannon, there's not a huge difference. The Autocannon is probably only going to kill one guy. The Lascannon is definitely going to kill a guy. But that's why I think, in terms of sort of why I believe the Lascannon is a powerful weapon, why I believe it's take all comers, is because yes, it is absolutely fantastic at killing vehicles, and it can pretty much take on anything. Yes, it's slightly weak. It's not ideal for shooting against infantry, but it's a big but. It's not gonna. It's not like you've only got las cannons. I mean, the head weapon team itself comes with a las gun as well. Don't forget that. So, you can easily, if you come across a horde army, you can easily still use this weapon effectively. And don't forget, even in a really hordy army, let's look at Tyranids or orcs or something. Tyranids are still going to have big bugs. They're still going to have synapse bugs. They're still probably going to have warriors for synapse. If you're facing like a proper classic Nid horde, we're talking warriors, hormagaunts, termagants, Maybe you've got a hive tyrant in there. You're still going to have, they're going to want to have venom throats for cover. You're still going to have big bugs, big multi-wound bugs you're going to need to target. So Lascannon's still got targets there. Maybe you're facing orcs, they will have some characters. And yes, you won't be able to target those characters initially, but once you've whittled through the horde and you've got a mega armoured war boss coming at you, you'll be grateful you have that Lascannon to put him down. Or, think about it this way, if you're Mordian, as a Mordian player, there's almost no reason for me not to take Lascannons. Because even if I come across a horde army, I just use the Mordian order firing squad, and I just target the characters with the Lascannons. And just shoot the other guys, shoot the little guys with my lasguns. It's easy. It's easy. Or I split fire. I can do what I want. Whenever I face off against orc hordes, they inevitably have some kind of big walker or grot cannon at the back, providing some fire support. My Lascannon just goes off against those grot cannons, or equivalent thereof. And like I said, if I'm facing nids, what I tend to do is I put all my lasguns, first rank fire, second rank fire, into the little bugs, and then I chuck my plasma, I chuck my lascannons, and I put those into the big bugs. Even if they're just medium bugs like warriors. Still, it really helps. Don't forget, warriors have got 3 wounds each. They are tough. They are tough cookies. So we sort of talked about what weapons the Lascannon pairs well with. Really, if you're going whack a tournament, you just want to be spamming Lascannons and plasma guns, because they really, really are very effective. And like I said, if you come across a horde, you've got lasguns for days, especially if you're playing a pure infantry army. You've got lasguns going on for days. Now, the one disadvantage of the Lascannon is quite expensive. And this is sort of the question you have to ask yourself. I have two go to infantry squad loadouts, whacker loadouts, or my tournament loadouts. One is my Lascannon plasma gun, because that just means I have a decent. That unit can take on anything. I've got 7 las guns. If you include the one on the heavy weapon team, I can give each one of those 4 shots. There's 28 shots from each squad. I've got the plasma gun for anti-tank. I've got a Lascannon for anti-tank. That unit can take on anything. Now, the other loadout you can consider, which is in direct competition to this, is the plasma pistol, plasma gun heavy bolter squad. Okay? That's actually slightly cheaper. So the plasma gun Lascannon squad is 67 points. The plasma gun plasma pistol heavy bolter squad is 60 points. Now, you get at close range 3 plasma gun shots and 3 heavy bolter shots. And the way 8th edition works, as we talked in the heavy bolter video, heavy bolter can take on any target, because at most it's going to be winning on 5s. And it's still AP -1. That still means most tanks will be taking an armor save on a 4+. So it's a tough question. I would say that both of those units are pretty equal. The Lascannon plasma gun squad does have its advantages in long range firefights, because you've got that 48-inch range, which allows you to sit back and make the enemy come to you if that's if the mission allows it. It's just one of those. So overall, I'd say the Lascannon is an absolutely fantastic weapon. You can't go wrong with a Lascannon. It's one thing it comes down to is that no matter what edition I've been in, from playing 3rd edition as a kid or playing 8th edition as an adult, I've always had Lascannons. I've always loved Lascannons. When I first started collecting Pilgar when I was 11 years old, I had this idea of I can have Lascannons to deal with the tanks, I can have Lasguns to deal with the infantry. And sometimes, to a lesser extent or to a great extent, but generally speaking, that's always been true. And that's the thing with Lascannon, because it's such a powerful weapon, and it's a consistent weapon. It's always been between 20 and 25 points, no matter what the edition is. It's one of those weapons that it's got longevity. If 9th edition comes around now and everything gets flipped upside down, the Lascannon will still be a solid weapon. because of the nature of the beast. You know, as we've seen with autocannons, they have become not very good as edition changes because they were a jack of all trades, master of none. So as editions change, those weapons, you know, they have the potential to lose effectiveness. Whereas the Lascannon, it has one job. Its one job is to beat the crap out of tanks and big old monsters as well. So it's always going to have that job. That job is never going to change. So therefore, it's just got reliability. It's just got reliability. And likewise, sometimes you just need to hit the enemy and you need to hit them hard. You just need to kill them. And that's the advantage of it. Sometimes there is no substitute for having a big old cannon. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it has covered a lot of bases. I know I haven't really talked about where the Lascannon is good at. To be honest, it's an effective weapon anywhere. The only place you don't want it is heavy weapon squads, I should say. Because heavy weapon squads are very easy to kill. So if you put 3 Lascannons in a heavy weapon squad, your opponent will target them straight away and kill them. They're good in infantry squads just because they're cheap. They're only 40 points plus 20 points to the Lascannon. What's really important to note is Lascannons are the same price in an infantry squad as they are in a veteran squad. Games Workshop, nerf Plasma and they nerf Melter, saying, oh, well, they're better on Biscuit 3+ squads. Then why don't they change all the heavy weapon stats? Because, it was just bullshit and they were just complaining. They were just, giving in to the complainers. But my point is that Lascannon veterans are very, very powerful. And it's one of those where if your infantry squads, it might be better to put your infantry, to take a mix of heavy bolter, plasma infantry squads, because they're going to be moving, so they're going to be wanting to go up to the enemy. They need the extra shots, and they're more than likely going to die, so keep them a bit cheaper is better. But having like Lascannon sniper veteran squads or Lascannon grenade launcher veteran squads means those units can sit back, they can provide long range fire support, they can sit on objectives, and because they won't be in the enemy's face, they'll be able to do a lot more damage. And you're paying the same points in a veteran squad as you are in an infantry squad anyway, so you might as well. And for those of you, those of you who know this channel, I have said, foot veterans are not to be underestimated. I know a lot of people on the internet that poo-poo veterans. There's no point in taking them. Look, with all the armies out there that have got -1 to hit, -2 to hit, sometimes you need a veteran squad, and sometimes putting a Lascannon in that veteran squad is the difference between losing a game and winning a game. And the last thing I want to say is I have won games with Lascannons in veteran squads because my opponent was so afraid of them that he targeted them to the detriment of all else, at the expense of everything else. Example being, I went to the team tournament, I had 1,000 points, my partner had 1,000 points, and we're facing off against that Tau and 1,000 Suns list. And the Tau player, he just saw Lascannon veteran squads and he just targeted them non-stop. That's all he wanted to kill. So did the 1,000 Sun player, and then they got too close, and what happened is the Blood Angels player that I was playing with, he had 5 twin assault cannons plus 6 heavy bolters, and we just won the game because we drew them in. They wanted to get into range of the Lascannon veteran squads that were a bit further back. They came in, they killed the veteran squads, or they tried to. I think so, had a few left. And then we beat them purely because of the psychological effect of veterans with Lascannons. So take that into account. It does put a big target on your veterans, but the Lascannon because the Lascannon is such a good weapon that people fear it, but you can use that to your advantage. And that's sort of part of the mind games we've been talking about in other episodes. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. I know I've had a few people asking me, am I going to do a Militarum Tempestus series? The answer to that is yes, I will be covering the Militarum Tempestus basic tactics series and go through their weapons as well. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I definitely will be doing it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you lots and lots. Leave lots of comments. Tell me how you've been using your Lascannons. Share that knowledge with our fellow Guard commanders. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.